The wind howled through the open window of a small, dimly lit room where Amina sat, her swollen belly rising gently beneath the oversized t-shirt that barely reached her knees. The concrete floor beneath her was cold, and so was the metal bench she had slept on for the past 3 nights. She was once full of laughter and dreams, a girl with soft eyes and a radiant smile. But now she was a ghost of herself, abandoned, shivering, and with only her unborn child for company. 3 months ago, Amina believed she had it all. She had left her village for the city of Ibadan, full of hope and love in her heart. She met Farouk, a soft-spoken man with a sharp jawline and big dreams. They had met during a church outreach program and soon became inseparable. They shared bowls of rice, late-night walks, and endless promises. Farouk wasn't rich, but he had ambition. Amina stood by him during his struggles, even when he couldn't afford transport fare. She paid for their meals with money from her tailoring apprenticeship. But the moment Farouk got a job as a junior accountant at a powerful construction firm, things changed. He became distant, more polished, and less patient. The warmth in his eyes faded and was replaced by cold calculation. Amina didn't notice it immediately, not until the day she told him she was pregnant. He didn't react with joy or fear. He reacted with silence. 3 days later, Farouk asked her to leave his apartment. This was not the plan, he had said. You knew I needed time to build. This pregnancy, it complicates everything. She cried. Pleaded. Reminded him of the nights they prayed together and the dreams they built. But Farouk had already made another choice. He had fallen for Halima, his boss's daughter. Rich. Sophisticated. The kind of woman who wore silk blouses and French perfume. Marrying Halima, Farouk told himself, was a smart move. Amina? She was just a memory, one he believed could never come back to haunt him. But 3 years later, at a crowded food court in Lagos, Farouk looked up from his half-eaten jollof rice and nearly choked on his drink. Standing across from him was Amina. Not broken. Not begging. But radiant. Beside her stood a little boy, no older than 3, whose eyes were the mirror image of Farouk's. She walked slowly toward him, not in anger or desperation, but with the grace of someone who had learned to survive. Behind her, a man in a neat shirt stood protectively, holding her handbag. Farouk's voice trembled. Amina. She smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. Hello, Farouk. He looked at the child, then at her. Is he? Yes, she replied simply. His name is Khalil. He turned to the man standing with her. Amina looked over too, then added, that's my husband. He found me when I had nothing. Loved me when I had no one. And raised Khalil like his own. Farouk swallowed hard, the weight of his choices crashing down like bricks. The food turned to ash in his mouth. Amina turned to leave but paused. You threw away a family for status. I found one in kindness. And just like that, she walked away, holding the hand of the child he abandoned, and the man he could never be. Farouk sat frozen in his seat, the chatter and laughter of the food court now sounding like distant echoes in his ears. His hands trembled slightly as he picked up his drink, trying to steady his nerves, but it was useless. Nothing could drown out the weight of Amina's words, you threw away a family for status. I found one in kindness. He had everything he ever wanted, at least on paper. A corporate job, a luxurious apartment in Lekki, and Halima, whose beauty turned heads at every party. But beneath the glamour, his life felt empty. Halima was never truly his. She tolerated him, adorned their marriage with curated smiles and rehearsed affection. Her father's connections had pushed Farouk up the corporate ladder, but each promotion felt less like an achievement and more like a collar tightening around his neck. He wasn't respected, he was owned. That night, Farouk returned home to a cold silence. Halima was out, likely at another social gathering he hadn't been invited to. He sat in the dark, staring at a wedding photo on the wall. In it, he wore a forced smile. She didn't even touch him in the picture. He thought about Khalil, the boy with his eyes. He imagined how the boy laughed, what his voice sounded like, how it felt to hold his tiny hand. Regret twisted in his chest like a blade. Meanwhile, Amina was in a different world. Her husband, Musa, was helping Khalil finish his homework while she sewed buttons on a new dress for a customer. The house was small but filled with warmth. It wasn't money that gave her peace, it was love, real and enduring. She hadn't planned on seeing Farouk. It had shaken her, yes, but not broken her. If anything, it gave her closure. 3 years ago, she thought she'd never recover. She had slept under bridges, gone days without food, and carried her baby with no hospital checkups. She remembered crying silently at night, questioning what she had done to deserve such betrayal. But God had sent her Musa, a kind man who saw her weeping outside a mosque and offered her food. He never asked for anything in return, just helped. In time, that kindness bloomed into love. Amina had forgiven Farouk, not for him, but for herself. Holding on to that bitterness had once chained her to the past, but now, she was free. Back in Lekki, Farouk made a decision he thought he never would. He left a note for Halima, packed a bag, and checked into a cheap hotel. For the first time in years, he cried, not out of self-pity, but from realizing what true love looked like, then how far he had strayed from it. The mirror in the hotel room showed a tired man with hollow eyes. He whispered to his reflection, "I lost more than I knew." Weeks passed. Farouk tried to return to his routine, but nothing felt the same. Each morning in the office reminded him of the deals he made, not business deals, but emotional ones. He had traded warmth for wealth, and now the currency of his soul was bankrupt. He thought about approaching Amina again. Not to beg, not to interfere, but to ask for forgiveness. He knew he didn't deserve her grace, but something inside him needed peace. One Saturday morning, Farouk found himself standing outside a small community center in Ajij. He had had Amina volunteered there with her husband. He didn't bring flowers or gifts, just a heavy heart and a handwritten letter folded in his pocket. From a distance, he saw her laughing with a group of children. Her smile now was different, full, deep, unguarded. She looked like someone who had built her life brick by brick, with scars beneath her strength. Musa stood beside her, holding Khalil's school bag and chatting with another parent. It was a picture of the life Farouk had once destroyed, yet somehow, it had been rebuilt without him. He didn't step forward. He didn't interrupt. He placed the letter in the mailbox of the center and quietly walked away. In the letter, he wrote, "Amina, I don't expect you to read this. I wouldn't blame you if you burned it. But I need to say what I should have said long ago. I was a coward. I chose comfort over character. I didn't just walk away from you, I walked away from the best version of myself. Seeing you again reminded me of the grace I lost and the love I never deserved. Khalil, he deserves the world. And I'm glad he has you and Musa to give it to him. Thank you for surviving. For thriving. For proving that broken things can still bloom. If nothing else, please know this, I am sorry. Farouk." That night, Amina read the letter in silence. She didn't cry. She didn't feel pity. She simply folded it and placed it in a wooden box beneath her bed, a box filled with old memories, painful journals, and now, closure. The next day, she and Musa took Khalil to the beach. The boy ran into the waves laughing, unaware of the story behind his life. Amina watched him with peace in her heart. She had been left with nothing, but now, she had everything that mattered. Sometimes, the people who leave us behind are the ones who teach us how to stand. Love isn't measured by status or wealth, but by the hands that hold us when we are most broken. Forgiveness doesn't change the past, but it frees the future.